Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Pisces, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of October 2025. I hope you are well. I'm using the Wild Unknown Tarot for you today. It's quite interesting. It hasn't come out as a main deck for a very, very long time. Anywho, before we begin, if the reading resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's via the first link in the description box below. Alternatively, you can come and join my private community, which is the Order of the Phoenix over on the Circle platform. There you get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost beyond the membership fee, which includes not just all the extended readings for each of the signs every month, but also weekly energy readings and whatnot. And if you join at the higher tier, you can come and participate in the live classes that we run over there too. We've got quite a it's not backlog, is it? What's the word that I'm looking for? We have a repository now of past classes, so even if you can't attend live, right, all the recordings are there and you can go through them at your leisure. And they're on all sorts of things, not just on tarot, they're also on various aspects of magic and all sorts of things. So if you're interested in that, you know what to do with that link. Right, Pisces, let's have a look and see what's going on with you. Could I have 3 cards for Pisces, please? Whoop, there's the first one. And there you are. We've got the Knight of Cups in the recent past position. What about current energy for Pisces, please? Ooh, okay. We have the Chariot reversed. And what about what's coming towards Pisces, please? We have the 8 of Cups. Now, this is very interesting, right? Because we've got the Lovers at the bottom of the deck there. Let's just put that where you can see it. Not only is the North Node in your sign at the moment, but as of a few days ago now, I can't remember when it happened, Saturn has retrograded back into your sign. And I do feel like there's a kind of depressive effect that Saturn has on most things, right? Because he rules like the edges of things and boundaries and liminal stuff. And I think when Saturn moved first into your sign, there was that kind of depressive energy about it. We saw, as was predicted by an astrologer that I follow on Instagram, there was an uptick in issues of addiction and things like that. Right? You've got Saturn, which is the planet of reality, meeting Pisces, which is such an expansive energy, doesn't want to be constrained, doesn't want to be restrained by anything. It's all love and it's all acceptance. That's the kind of thing that's going on there. When the two of them met initially, I think we did have an uptick in escapist tendencies, and I think over the course of Saturn being in your sign, Saturn himself eventually was washed clean of a lot of things, and he was there to do a very specific job. He left your sign back in July, something like that, and moved into Aries, obviously the next sign along. But he's got some business to finish up in your sign. And it's interesting that we should see the 8 of Cups being here, a card that indicates this one here, a card that indicates the moving away from, right, putting emotional baggage down, leaving something behind, showing up, and this is a Pisces card as well. My God, it might even be Saturn in Pisces. I can't remember off the top of my head, right? That's saying whatever job that Saturn started when he was in your sign, we've got some sort of closure that's occurring now over the next few months while he's back in Pisces, that it needs to be completed, it needs to be finished up, because there's something here for you to leave behind us, a way of being, a way of thinking, whatever. And I'll pull some more cards out before I say any more, but I can see why, if you've been feeling a little bit stuck at the moment, that would be the case. So tell me about the Knight of Cups, please. We've got the 2 of Swords on its side. That actually kind of makes some sense too. We've got the Ace of Pentacles also on its side. Tell me about the Chariot, please. Page of Pentacles on its side as well. Good Lord. Okay, we have the first upright, and it is the King of Cups. Is that King of Cups? Queen of Cups. 3 of Cups on its side too. Strength on its side. Seven of Cups on its side. This is... You're the first sign that I'm reading for that I feel like the potential for some frustration is really quite strong, right? And we've got double Gemini at the bottom of the deck here. It's a mutable sign like you, but it's mutable air, whereas you are mutable water, right? So Gemini is very much about ideas and the exchange of ideas and the integration of perspectives and all these kinds of things, right? Whereas you're about the integration of emotions, right? You're processing it. We've talked about this before, how Pisces seems to have that quality of being the cosmic washing machine, right? Everything comes through you ultimately because you are the last sign in the zodiac, and all the experiences. Whew, heart hurts a little bit there. All the experiences that the rest of the zodiac have eventually end up at the door of Pisces for emotional processing, emotional washing machine kind of energy, where you can then purify it, accept it, and release it, right? The themes of surrender and submission and whatnot in Pisces are there for good reason. And it's the idea that Pisces doesn't hold on to anything, right? Because you shouldn't, because ultimately energy needs to flow, right? So I feel like, to some extent, the Eight of Cups showing up here in the October section of the reading is a very welcome thing. But I can't help but feel that the welcome energy of the Eight of Cups is almost encircled on all sides by frustration and a feeling of not quite being able to move forwards, because something about this needs cognitive processing rather than emotional processing, Pisces. Now that's difficult because obviously with the North Node in your sign, there's that insatiability of the North Node that says we've got to more. There's no point at which the North Node will consider there to be enough of the energy of whatever sign it's sitting in for it to be satisfied. So there is always this pull forwards, but there's also the balancing that needs to happen too. So the fact that we've got so many cards on their side, I think is actually really positive, but it is specifically this Chariot in reverse that I'm looking at that seems to be the source of the frustration for you. The one thing that I can say that possibly may ameliorate whatever frustrations that you're experiencing at this time is that there is a big picture playing out here. And if it's one thing that Pisces does get really, really well, it is generally the idea of the big picture. Certainly you're going to get that a lot better than Virgo does, right? Virgo hyper-focusing on detail and whatnot. But this shift of element for you that seems to be what this whole period is about, like moving things to the cognitive rather than the emotional, is going to come with a little bit of, can I just get on with this now sort of thing. And if you can refer back to the big picture, I think that probably will help, like I said, ameliorate some of this frustration. So we start over here with the Knight of Cups, and this is you. Right? This is the card that represents Pisces in the Minor Arcana. And the Knight of Cups is what we talk about in the tarot is the act of giving one's cup. The Knight of Cups is associated with service, it's associated with giving, it's associated with love, full stop, right? I have had my issues with the Knight of Cups in the past because there's always the possibility with the Knight of Cups that what we have is a triumph of style over substance, right? It's the big, grand, romantic gesture. It's the big, grand, romantic vision. And I think the fact that the cold, hard, dry planet of Saturn is back in your sign is somewhat of a reality check, right? It's kind of bringing that reality check energy to the situation, in addition to the idea that something is some aspect of what Saturn is trying to do needs to be completed, not just now but over the next few months, although I feel like some big stuff here. So we've got all of these energies contained within this here, and this is actually a relatively slow moving energy too, right? In terms of speed, we tend to go air, fire, water, then earth, right? Earth being the slowest moving of all of the elements, obviously all the signs associated with that being slowest moving, but you're a step up from the bottom, but you're on the slower side of things. Now, it would be remiss of me not to point out that whenever a sign shows up in their own reading, we are dealing with themes of identity, a sense of self, the permission that we give or we do not give to ourselves to be entirely authentic, right? So here you are, almost sort of gunning for, getting ready for, doing big things, probably already doing big things actually, Pisces, because the North Node's been in your sign for a while now, and I have seen that Pisces kind of building up to all sorts of things. But then we have these two clarifiers underneath, the Two of Swords and the Ace of Pentacles, and I think this is where the frustration begins somewhat. Because the way that I read these cards when they turn up like this, neither upright nor reversed, so not ever in their full expression when they're showing up like this, is that we are either catching a moment where these are moving from a reversed state to an upright state, or vice versa, upright to reversed. Or, and I think that this is applicable in your case, Pisces, what we have is energies that are shuffling into position, ready to be activated, but not, as things stand, currently activated. The example that I sometimes use is, when you're in a stage production of something, and you've got a scene coming up, and so all the people who are going to star in this scene are now shuffling up to the in the wings, ready to come out and deliver their lines and all that kind of thing. All the world's a stage and all that kind of thing, right? They're not yet on the stage, they're not yet being seen by the audience, they're not yet delivering their lines, but they are lining up in readiness for such a thing. And we've got two energies here that kind of jar with each other just a little bit as well, that are both lining up at the same time. Now, the Two of Swords is a card for me that speaks about there being something to which we are completely oblivious, right? And I sometimes call this like willful blindness, because if you look at the imagery in this card and what's actually going on, we have a woman who is trying to make a decision about something, but for whatever reason, and we're never quite sure what that is, she's trying to make the decision based purely only on logic, right? She is not consulting her intuition, as represented by the moon over here. She's not consulting her feelings about things, as the water is actually the representation of emotion in the tarot, not cups, right? This is an important point. The cups just hold the shit. To make things worse, I mean, not only does she have her back to these things here, but she also is blindfolded. And she sat there in a state of stasis, just trying to work out what to do, what to choose between these two swords. Now, the swords are effectively identical. They weigh the same, they look the same, not that she can see them, right? But there are no imperfections on there. It's a proper stalemate of self when it comes to our thinking that is being indicated by this card. And I always get the impression that if she actually took the blindfold off and even just turned around to look at the water and the moon, there would be so much information in there, metaphorically speaking, that she would, the decision was already made, right? But it's the sense that she knows that, and that's why she won't turn around and look at it. That's why, even worse, she's actually blindfolded herself. Sometimes we can see is how the subconscious has screened some piece of information away from our conscious mindset, so we can't see what it is. And it's showing up on the side like this. Now, this feels to me like there is information that you need that you don't have, that will be coming up soon, so as to illuminate what it is that's been a kind of stuck energy in you somewhere, maybe around the idea of getting started on something, but isn't yet here enough for you to be able to see that there is a blind spot, right? So another way of looking at this card is a massive blind spot. When it shows up in the reverse, what we have is these things being illuminated. We have these things revealed, right? So it's we are neither aware of there being a blind spot. And we're certainly not at the point where we can recognize exactly what that blind spot is, what it represents, and what it might affect. Instead, it's just an energy that's kind of shuffling into view. And then we have the Ace of Pentacles. Now, the Ace of Pentacles is the initiating card of the Suit of Pentacles. It is a very powerful card because it speaks of the potential of the suit, right? It's a seed. So we've got the possibility of going from a seed to a fully formed oak tree, a fully formed whatever, right? The Ten of Pentacles in most respects. And there's something very solid and tangible, generally speaking, about the energy of the Ace of Pentacles versus the energy of the other aces. It's tangible. This is me getting started. Now, additionally, I see the Pentacles as energetic currency. So anything that you can invest then becomes a pentacle, and that can be your time, your care, your money, your effort, your love, your energy generally, right? It's about pulling together all of your resources and going, I'm going to focus on this thing, right? With all the intangibility that focus can contain, like your attention and all that sort of stuff. I'm focusing it like a laser on this thing, and I'm going to cultivate this seed so that it grows into something bigger. It's shuffling into view, but it's not quite here yet. And there's a sense of an almost fractured timeline that is playing out here as I'm talking to you, because what I don't get a sense of is that the Two of Swords is the thing that is blocking you from putting the seed in the ground. I feel like the Two of Swords is more about the environment within which it is that you would choose to put the seed than anything else, right? And we have to be mindful of the fact that this is in your recent past. So I mean, we could be talking about this morning actually, but we certainly could be speaking any time up to about 6 weeks back from now. It's like we can't quite see what needs to change in our immediate environment. We can't quite see what decision we're supposed to make about something. Like what even is our decision to make in this situation? And because we can't do that, then we can't recognize what it is that's causing the hold-up in being able to invest the pentacle in the first place, right? It feels a little bit confusing, and it certainly feels like being torn. There's two different directions going on. Like I said, the North Node is kind of like relentless. We must move forward no matter what. In all things, uber Piscean, mega Piscean, everything's got to be Piscean as fuck. And yet, the environment does not seem to be supporting it, and your ability to be able to invest your attention is being compromised somewhere, because there's something that you can't quite put your finger on that seems to be causing an issue here. Now, it would be very unlike Pisces indeed not to consult their emotions about something. But there does seem to be a bit of a cognitive block. There's a blind spot somewhere, and maybe it's connecting the feeling to the fact, or the feeling to the information that you're looking at. That's the thing that is kind of flapping in the wind at the moment. It's certainly not tied up nice and tight. So when we move into your current energy, we have the Chariot reversed, and this is I think adding layers upon layers of frustration to what already feels kind of irritating with these two reversed cards over here. Because the Chariot is about it's about planning, it's about determination, it's about goal setting, it's about saying I'm going to do a thing, and now I'm going to start doing the thing, right? I'm going to be moving forwards no matter what. It's a very powerful card that indicates success and determination and all these kind of things, right? All of the things actually that go into your ability to be successful, whatever success means to you, whether it's on a tangible project or whether it's just the sense that you are driving forwards in your own life now rather than standing still. The Chariot also has additional meanings. Now, it is, for me, represents the sign of Cancer, so it's a sister water sign to you, and there is an emotional component to it. But the Chariot talks about the self. Now, if you are able to tack the prefix self onto any word at all, then it becomes, it's dealt with under the auspices of the Chariot. So self self-worth, self-motivation, self-discipline. All of these things are dealt with by the Chariot. And the idea is that there is a balancing that needs to go on between the polarities of self in order to move forwards, right? When the Chariot shows up in its upright, it suggests that all things are balanced. And the normal depiction of this card shows not a singular horse, but a charioteer with two beasts pulling it. And depending on the deck, it will change what it is. But in the Waite Smith, it's two sphinxes. In the Llewellyn Tarot, I think we've got it's horses. It is horses. But I've seen cats. I've seen all sorts of things, right? But the important point is that there are two. And this charioteer is tasked with keeping these two beasts, which represent the polarities that we are dealing with in ourselves, keeping them balanced and aligned so that the power of both can be utilised moving forwards. But there's no danger of being pulled off from our very straight line that we're trying to follow one way or the other without the charioteer's say so. It's a card for me of shadow work quite often, because the charioteer himself is the conscious component in this trifecta. Now, what's really interesting about the chariot as it's depicted here is we have both the power of the beast but also the mental abilities represented in a singular figure, which is this chariot. Yeah, it is this horse right here. Notice the moon on the forehead, which is really quite interesting as well. And there is an idea there that we've got a full embodiment of everything that the chariot represents in one figure. So willpower, self-determination, self-balancing and all that kind of thing, but a lot of stamina, right? That thing that gets the job done. And when it's showing up in the reverse like this, it is everything coming to a screeching halt. And what's important about this card when it shows up in reverse is we need to work out what it is that has just jammed up progress for us, right? It could be that there is suddenly the wheels are skidding on the chariot because a stone's got stuck in the axle or something. It could be that one of the beasts has become lame. It could be that the charioteer just got distracted and is now not paying attention. He's not exerting control over the beasts. There are a myriad of ways in which some aspect of the chariot and its makeup has come to a screeching halt. And until we work out where the issue is, it's very unlikely that chariot's going to be able to move forwards, because it is by definition now showing up as an unbalanced energy. This can be incredibly frustrating, particularly when you feel like you're showing up fully, ready to be of service, ready to be, full Pisces, full bore Pisces on everything. And yet what started here is bleeding into the current moment, and everything has just stopped. Now, we have the Page of Pentacles and we have the Queen of Cups showing up under here, who are giving us a moment to reflect. The Chariot represents the sign of Cancer, as I said already, but this Queen of Cups here also represents the sign of Cancer. Now, unlike you, Cancer is cardinal water, whereas Pisces governs the transition from one sign to another, as all the mutable signs do, right? They govern the transition of the seasons, right? So Sagittarius transitions us into winter, and Pisces transitions us into spring. Virgo transitions us into autumn, so on and so forth, right? You get how it works. Cardinal is the initiating point of the season that says it points a direction. It says we're going this way. Now, for whatever reason, although you've been navigating transition and you've been doing it pretty well, there's something that's gone a little bit awry with the initiation of the direction of movement. And I think with Saturn moving back into your sign, and I have to say, like, Neptune will be doing the same, and that, at least in modern astrology, is your ruling planet. It's going to be moving back into Pisces later this month. Both of them finishing up something that they started. Neptune, like 16 years ago or something like that, but Saturn about 3 years ago. The problem that seems to be being flagged up here is something about the direction that you thought you were going in versus the one that I think the universe would like you to go in instead, or God, source, creator, like whatever your terminology is, right? Because this Page of Pentacles, also an initiatory energy within the suit of Pentacles, right? All aces and pentacles have a similar kind of function. But what the pages do is they take something that already exists and they shape it and they mold it, they work with it, right? They pick it up and they transmute it into something else. It's the initiatory stage of a journey through the hierarchy of the of whatever suit they represent. And in some ways, you know, we could say the same about the aces, but the difference is the level of power. This also taking something that you already have, this introducing something new altogether, right? Because it's an ace, seat, potential, this sort of stuff. And the Page of Pentacles is to do with understanding of value of things, right? That specifically is what the Page of Pentacles is interested in. Now, the Page of Pentacles is also a methodical researcher, is somebody who is looking for things, looking for details and stuff. And indeed, the Knight that follows this is the Knight of Pentacles, which is Virgo. Whenever this card shows up, we're being asked to re-examine the value structure that is sitting at the bottom of what we are doing, is sitting at the base of what we're doing. We're looking at the foundations of stuff. I mean, you see here, literally, the page has, I don't know if you can see that, there we go, it's got a magnifying glass, right? There's a period of examination that is going on here. The problem for you is that it, again, is showing up in the sideways presentation rather than the upright or the reverse. Now, if we take what I've said to be you know, accurate or resonant on any kind of level, then what's happening here is, and it's quite clear from the way that we see these cards out, until the work is finished, until the value is understood, until all things pentacle-like have been dealt with that are of the old, we don't have the opportunity to move forwards to the new. And there's something holding you up, Pisces, and you have not seen what it is, right? It's functioning like a big blind spot. And like I said, because it seems to be sitting in the area of cognition rather than feeling, it could explain why there's a lot about this that feels quite frustrating. Again, you know, cardinal water is going to have a big feeling component to it. This is something that you should just, you know, very naturally, very seamlessly integrate with. But there's an interrupted movement here that says, no, hang on. If everything that you thought was correct and you weren't missing anything, then yes, this would be the right way for you to go. But because there is something that you're missing, we've got to slam the anchors on, and we need to go back to the drawing board to have a look and see what this thing is. Again, double Gemini at the bottom of the deck is suggesting that more information is required, because Gemini has this insatiable desire for new facts, new information, right? But additionally, what the Lovers card represents is not just a coming together of you and people. I think there's some aspect of this reading that will certainly in a moment speak to that. But it's about free will. It's about consent. It's about making a decision that aligns you with the universe as a co-creative force, rather than you trying to do everything on your own. And I wonder if that's what you've been trying to do, Pisces. I wonder if you're, you know, striking forwards on this path that seems uniquely yours and nobody else is coming along with it. I wonder if the universe is saying, oh, hang on, hold your horses a second, Pisces. There are supposed to be people who come with you on this one. Because the two meanings of the Lovers card together, when you put them together like that, they suggest that whether it's indicating an alignment between you and other people, or an alignment between you and the co-creative universe, or even you and the polarities of yourself, because we can't lose that interpretation because of the Chariot going on here. It's like something needs to be examined. Now, I feel like this Queen of Cups here, you just see the look on her face, like she looks frustrated, she looks pissed off. This is not the kind of loving expression, you know, the archetypal mother kind of energy vibe that we usually get from a Queen of Cups, you know, indulgent and just love, overflowing with love all the time. She looks pissed off. She looks frustrated. It's just like, the fuck, and you know, what is this? I mean, it looks like it could be a globe that she has on her hand there, right? It's kind of like, I'm ready to start getting out there into the world and doing all sorts of things, being expansive, which, you know, Pisces likes to do, but I'm being halted. Like, there's something quite rigid about her position here that you don't usually see in the Queen of Cups. And I feel like there's a lot of emotional exploration that's going on here. And it doesn't seem to be bringing up the answer for you. And it's certainly the Page of Pentacles would say, like, there's a relative value question here that has not been thoroughly addressed. Now, I said I feel like it is possibly you having some companionship on this road that you're walking. But it might not be that. It might be something else. It could be something that is sitting in the background of your psyche that is just kind of chuntering away, and that's the thing that needs to be dealt with. Because when we move into October, we have this Eight of Cups here, you know, representing Pisces, but representing release ultimately. I mean, the Eight Cups that are depicted on the card here are showing themselves no longer worthy of containing the element of water, right? They simply cannot do it anymore. Usually the Eight Cups are stacked in such a way as you can see that there is a ninth cup that is missing, and the idea is that under the light of the eclipse, there go we off to find our ninth cup, which represents our highest hopes, goals, dreams, aspirations, and all that kind of thing, but also emotional regulation, all sorts of things that apparently aren't that cool anymore. We will notice that we have this great big black mountain in the background here in silhouette. I mean, there's something very Saturnian about the way that that is sitting there and looking at these cups. It's like there's some aspect of something emotional is... It simply can't do the job that it was meant to do anymore. Oh, you want to drink some water. You can't use any of these without damaging yourself. It's time to go find new vessels. It's time to put down the need, because this is where the emotional baggage is, the need for these specific cups to be the cups that hold the water. And then we come to these cards here, also waiting to be activated. Or are we catching these on the turn? Because there's one way of reading this to say, you know, maybe you've fallen out with some people recently. That would be the Three of Cups in reverse. Part of what the Eight of Cups could be representing is the need to leave behind the bad blood on this and just realise that community is important and, you know, concentrate on what pulls us all together rather than that separates us. That's one way of reading the cards that I can see here. I think it's very interesting that as the cards came out, this card was pointing that way and these cards are pointing this way, which means that they could all be doing slightly different things. One could be turning from upright to reversed or vice versa, and the others could be lining up as energy that is ready to be activated. Now, the Seven of Cups is actually a Scorpio card, and it's not associated with Neptune in any way, but if I was to pick a card out of the tarot that would represent the energy of Neptune, it would be the Seven of Cups, because there's like there's a distortion. I mean, yes, it is a higher octave energy. Yes, it talks about, you know, deep spirituality and all those kind of things. It's it's nicely aligned with you as a ruling planet. More so than Jupiter? I don't know. Not necessarily. There we are. Jupiter being your ancient ruler, right? Well, what I like about this card is the fact that we've got this woman who's standing at a shop window, right? So the idea is she's on the outside of this, and the things that she wants, or at least the things that she's been given to need to choose from, are behind a sheet of glass. She can see them. She's so very close to them in terms of proximity, but when it comes to it, she can't actually touch them. And it puts me in mind of something that I heard Stephen Forrest say once, who's an evolutionary astrologer. Is he an evolutionary astrologer, or is he just a straight-up astrologer? I think he does a bit of both, right? And he described Neptune as the foggy window out into the universe, or the dirty window out into the universe, that we all need to realise that we have to clean, right? And that there isn't necessarily a reality. Interesting. Most of us don't realise that the window is dirty. I'm sure it was something along those lines that he said. And that spiritual work was the realisation that our view of the universe was being fogged, was being distorted, and that our life's work was the careful cleaning of the window. It doesn't mean necessarily that we're out there and we can touch all the things, but at least we have a perspective that is more accurate than what we were leading with before, right? Just put me in mind of that as I saw it. And we can't really get away from the fact that the Eight of Cups is the card that follows on from the Seven, which makes me feel not necessarily like you are stepping backwards, because I would expect that to have been showing up, these energies to have been showing up over here, if what you were supposed to be reviewing was of the nature of cups. There's growth here. We know that because the Strength card is showing up, but it's showing up sideways. So are we talking about something that is ultimately disempowering that you are choosing to leave behind? Or are we talking about the way that you are growing in what you choose to leave behind? I mean, either interpretation would work in this moment. But it's... Does it come down to the idea, actually, maybe this is what it is, that you're trying to co-create with people and that's not who you're supposed to be co-creating with? I know that's completely counter to what I said before, but I could see it working in either way, because the capacity for confusion, illusion, distortion is very, very strong, because we've got it here. But also nothing seems to be upright and understandable and effectively operating in a linear way for you at the moment. So if you're trying to get loads of people involved in something that you're doing, I think maybe this month is a realization that people can't come with you where you are going. This is something that you need to grow into, to do by yourself. This is your path, right? But equally, if you are trying to do something on your own, maybe there's a realization here that there's a bit of a trauma response going on, which is, you don't expect people to be around, you don't expect people to be able to help you with something, and there's a gentle nudge. Well, it's not so gentle with the way that the chariots come to a screeching halt, that says maybe you ought to consider getting other people involved in what it is that you're doing. Like Pisces, you have to take it as it resonates to you. I mean, don't shoehorn any of these interpretations. Like, you're going to feel which one is right for you. But it feels like the major problem here is, although the end result is in you putting down some emotional baggage, when it comes down to working out what the problem actually is, it's a cognitive process that you need to take rather than an emotional one. Because it may well be that the direction that you've picked is correct, but maybe you don't have the right amount of people with you. Either there should be some or there isn't some, right? And there's some question of values. There's some question of maybe even principles that are somewhat hazy at this point too. With Saturn moving back into your sign, the one thing that is absolutely clear, and maybe only until Neptune comes and joins him, is that there is a need to become clear about something. Saturn is finishing something up in your sign, and it could well be that there are resurfacing. There is a resurfacing of situations that you thought were kind of dealt with, and how they're coming back here, and we've got to deal with them again. But there's more of an efficiency. There's more of that Saturnian mastery showing up this time, rather than the brutality that we can all feel when Saturn's doing stuff to us, right? And particularly at that first ingress. This feels like it's sharpening things up, whether it's your principles, your motivations, your value system, whatever. Maybe looking around and taking a cold hard look at what is actually surrounding you in terms of reality and all that kind of thing, and being like, no, I need to think about this, because if I feel my way forward through this bit, in all likelihood Neptune's going to interfere with that process. You have a window, it's a very small window, before Neptune comes and brings the dirty window and puts it. You've got a small window to think constructively about what you're trying to take with you that you shouldn't, and what you haven't tried to take with you that maybe you should. I wish I could give you more clarity on this one, Pisces, but like I said, the frustration that I'm feeling about October for you, it is palpable, but it is that friction, it is that tension that causes massive growth. I don't know, I think in all likelihood there's a lot of stuff here that's going to become much clearer in the extended, so I think maybe I'm going to go over there and do that now. If you would like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. You can do that on Selfie, you can do that on Circle. I'd be delighted to see you in either place. If this is where we part ways, just know that the frustration is part of the story. So if you're feeling it, rather than kind of doubling down on that feeling, like, just let it roll through you, and then start looking at what you might have made assumptions about emotionally that aren't necessarily backed up cognitively with something that is sharper and more defined, I think, because that's what Saturn likes to do, right? It likes to define the edges of things, all sorts of stuff. So I'll leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.